We're here with Klamath County Sheriff candidate Brian Bryson. Brian, thanks for coming in. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I want to start by just giving you a chance to tell your story. Who are you and what has led you to this point?
Okay. I've been a lifelong resident of Klamath County. Moved here when I was about a year and a half old. Went all through school here. Graduated from Mazama High School. Started working in the sheriff's office in 1996, full-time. In late 95, early 96, I was reserve for him as a volunteer. And then got hired on in November of 96 and worked corrections, patrol, supervisor on both sides, management on both sides, and stayed there for 27 and a half years and retired as of June 1st of this year.
What is it about law enforcement that attracted you and kept you for so long?
Well, I have a lot of family that's in law enforcement, and it's the thought of helping people and holding people accountable for victimizing other people that is important.
This is a question from one of our Facebook followers. Describe a time when you've had to overcome a hardship in your life and how that experience will help you if you become sheriff.
Well, I've had a couple. One was work, and one is on a personal level. This year, my parents were tragically killed in a car accident, Father's Day weekend. So, I think it's a lot of it's testing people and resolve. Just keep moving forward and doing what you set out to originally do. It's pretty easy to throw in the towel and walk away, but that's probably the biggest thing is my family in June.
To come and run for this office, especially essentially coming out of retirement to do so, that's a pretty major undertaking. Was there a catalyst or a tipping point that made you decide to get into this race?
Well, I filed in February, and I saw the people that were running, and I felt that I could do a better job, so I filed. Retired, in June. I wasn't ready to retire. The sheriff and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And so I started in it before I retired. I obviously want to stay in it even after I retired. And if I don't get elected, I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'm going to be okay. Retired life is I think going to be kind of nice.
So, as I mentioned, we took questions from our Facebook followers for this interview. And several of them expressed concerns about your role in everything that's happened within the department over the past year, as well as your lawsuit against Sheriff Caber and the county. A couple of questions we got were, why are you running for the same office you're filing a lawsuit against? And if you want what's best for the sheriff's office, why not let someone new fix the issues that arose during your tenure as upper management? What do you say to voters who have those sentiments?
Well, let me ask you this. You leave for the weekend and you come home and your house has been ransacked. What do you do? What do you do?
Call the police.
Why? I think you should just accept being a victim. I don't have that mindset either. I think you should call the police, and I think that we should hold the people accountable that victimized you. And that's the same thing with me, as I don't have a union to go to. I was in management and did not have a union to turn to. The county tried, there is litigation on this. My attorneys have advised me not to speak a lot on this topic. There's several allegations in federal court that we can prove, and we're going to prove. And so what's best for the county is transparency. Right? So the county felt that the sheriff had violated some policies. So the county initiated an investigation into that. I was interviewed in that investigation, and I told the truth. And that's transparency. And if, we can't be transparent with the voters, and tell the truth, then what are we doing? That's not what we are supposed to do as a law enforcement agency, or at the higher echelon of those law enforcement agencies. So, yeah.
Well, we also got this from one of your deputies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read you the entire thing as written. How do you plan on changing the culture of the sheriff's office? There is a strong distrust of the upper administration, which you have been a part of for years. How do you plan on changing not only the perception of upper administration among employees, but also how do you instill their trust into you as, again, you were second in command during this administration, which garnered mistrust and dislike of admin?
So what do they mistrust? What is the issues?
That's the whole thing as written.
Okay, so I think that's the first thing that we have to figure out is what are the issues with the mistrust. I was second in command for about a year. Prior to that, I was a jail commander, and there was another operations side commander who retired. And then I think it was like 13 months is maybe a little less. So about a year. So, but first off, I think before you can answer that, we need to know what it is they mistrust. Because I don't know. I know that since I've left in June, there's still been lots of people resigning and leaving. Why is that? I'm not part of that.
So, talking about trust, the relationship between the sheriff's office and the Board of County Commissioners has not been great recently because of what's gone on. Knowing that, how have you prepared to try to work with them, knowing that it may take some time to gain or regain their trust?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is. And I think it's just going to take time. It's going to take a lot of work on both sides. We're obviously going to have a new commissioner come in January with Commissioner Hensley leaving. So, it's going to have to start there, whoever gets elected. I think from November 5th through the 1st of January, before that person takes office, there needs to be conversations and there needs to be a plan in place of, how do we move forward and get over some of the bridges that were burned.
So what are your day one priorities? What are the first things you're going to try to get done when you take office?
Well, I've said this from the very beginning. We need to provide 24-hour patrols, and I've been criticized for that. But I know that we have enough budgeted deputies to do that. Do we have enough deputies in place right now? No, we don't. We don't. But we have enough budgeted deputies to do that. I know that because I worked with the sergeant and the president of the patrol, or the union, who's a patrol deputy, and we came up with that schedule. And we did have enough deputies to provide 24-hour patrols. So it's doable. We just have to fill the positions. So day one is constantly recruiting and filling positions and training and getting deputies, out on their own. It's going to take time, but because people are still leaving. It's a toxic environment. They're still leaving. There's a lot of infighting going on. So that's one, is start the process of recruiting, hiring, training, doing that. And then the other piece of that is I've said from day one, community service officers. So community service officer, in my opinion, will take all non-person misdemeanor crimes, which if I was to guess, would be somewhere around 40% of the calls for service. So that would come off of the deputies. Now, these people will be trained. I'm not going to say that we're just going to hire somebody and say, tag, you're it, go out there and handle these calls. They're going to be trained. They're going to know how to collect evidence. They're going to know how to do interviews. There's a whole process to that. So it's going to take some time to do that. But right now, all we've heard since 2010, when we had layoffs, the only thing a taxpayer's heard is, we need more money. We need more money. We need more money. Well, how much more? Not one sheriff has told us that. Out of the last three, not one has said, we need this much money because of this data shows that we need this many more deputies to handle calls. None of them have. All they do is tell the taxpayers we need more money. So we need to start collecting data. In the last year, what are the crimes that we've responded to? What are they, misdemeanors? Are they felonies? How many of those could go to a community service officer? I predict that the first community service officer that we hire within 6 months is going to be completely overworked, and we're going to have to hire more. And this is not a new concept. There's agencies all over the county or all over the state that have community service officers. KFPD has 2 community service officers. This is not a new concept. So if it's not working, why are police agencies across the nation still doing it? It will work. But before I can come out and ask a taxpayer, I need more money. I need to change the policing model because we haven't changed it. In 2010, when we had layoffs under Sheriff Evinger, we set up the model that we're using today. And the last 3 sheriffs have all said it's not working and we need more people. Well, what have we done internally to try and change that? What have we done to try and better the service and to use the taxpayer dollars that we have in hand right now to the best of our ability? We haven't done anything. So that's day one.
Suppose you do fill all the roles and get to adequate staffing levels. What's your plan for improving coverage for law enforcement in Klamath County, especially in terms of helping some of the smaller communities that often suffer from a lack of coverage?
Well, and that's the community service officer. If a deputy's not going to 40% of their calls right now because they're not going to non-person misdemeanor crimes, they have more time, correct? So they can handle outlying areas. We don't have a single resident deputy in 6,100 square miles. Not one. Why are the people in Chiloquin, why are the people in Chemalt or Bly or Sprague River, why do they not have the same service as the person that lives on Homedale? It's the policing model. It has to change. So to change that, we have to take some workload off of the deputies because they're overworked, right? And I think they're underpaid. But we need to figure out on the comparisons where they're at on the comparison pay scales. Are they at the bottom? Are they not even within it? Because I think they should be at half or to the top end of it. So because of the size of the county and the type of work we're doing. So we need to provide services in outlying areas. And that is freeing up deputies locally in the urban growth boundary to go out and expand their patrol areas and not just respond to Sprague River on a call and then come right back in. Not have a call in Sprague River to where we send them an email and say, hey, just take pictures and here's my email and email them back to me of the evidence. Pick up the brass on the shots fired call. And next time you're in town, drop it off at the office. That is happening. That's the type of police work we're doing. And that is not okay in anybody's book. So community service officers, the first thing. We got to start doing that. And then I could figure out where we're at on data because we need to pull up our crime calls and where we're going and what type of calls where so that I'm not saying we have enough money. We need more deputies. But I can't tell you how many more deputies. I can't tell you that until we collect all the data to prove it. But I know that we need them. So the police task force that the commissioners put together, one of the things that we talked about at the last one is what was our staffing levels in 2010? We had 8-hour shifts and we provided 24-hour patrols. What was it then? So we're pulling those numbers up now. And if we're sitting at 20, I'm just throwing out numbers. If we're sitting at 20 patrol deputies right now, but in 2010 for 24-hour patrols, we had 33. Well, it's a pretty good number to shoot for then, right? So what is that factual data? That's what we need to collect.
Looking at the jail, how would you address staffing there?
It's the same thing. We have a lot of new staff in there. I was the jail commander from 2017 until I went in as the operations captain. And that was the thing that we did. We hired people. We hired. And we were constantly in that process of taking applications, doing testing, and hiring people. I think that's fallen off. I think that we're not staying up on that like we should. Change is, deputies hate change, but they love change. They want change, but then they hate it when you do it. That's just the nature of the beast, I guess. But, we need to make it fun for them and give them some challenging stuff and let them do different things. Training in-house is one. Being an instructor in something they're passionate about, that helps boost morale. But the first thing is we got to get deputies in place,
Now, you said, the department needs more funding. Once you do get that funding, what is, and this is a Facebook question, what is your plan for budgeting to be sure that those funds are being spent for the benefit of the community?
Yeah, so we just raised the budget in Klamath County for this fiscal year, right? So what is it being used for now? The biggest cost is your employees, right? We're the largest employer in Klamath County, and we have like 108 or 110 employees. Plus, we have unfunded mandates like search and rescue, for one, that cost money. So how do we do that? Well, I think a lot of it is collecting data to see what projected, and we need to be realistic about projecting a budget for next year. Unfortunately, we're coming into a budget right now. Whoever gets elected is coming in with the budget halfway gone, right? So you're gonna have to pull data from last year in the first half of the year to see, are we using the money to the best of the ability that the sheriff can for general taxpayer dollars? I don't think we are. And the reason for that is, like I said, we're not community policing. We're not providing services to all of Klamath County. So we need to change that. That is going to help people feel like they're getting something for their dollar. If you live in Sprague River and you call, there's going to be somebody coming out, and having 24-hour coverage. There's not going to be 24-hour coverage in North County and Bly and Sprague River. And they're going to come into town because this is the populace, right? Is right here in the basin. So at night, when things start slowing down and the majority of the people are at home, this is where they're going to be patrolling at. But during the day and in the evenings, there's going to be people out in the outlying areas. So.
Some more Facebook questions. What have you personally experienced as a law enforcement officer that you would like to put a stop to or change as sheriff?
One is the drug issue that we have. And, you heard all through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's a war on drugs. Well, I think we lost that war. It was easier to decriminalize drugs and lower the police contact of criminals. And then they found out how drastic that was in the repercussions from it. So now they're making it a misdemeanor. But it not just starts at arresting people for drugs. It starts before that, trying to get them help in the community with their addiction, and so that they don't victimize people, so it doesn't go to a criminal piece of that. A lot of that is just drug awareness with kids, right? Marijuana is legal. There's kids all over the place that are seeing marijuana in the house and seeing their parents use it. They think, oh, this is perfectly fine, but we're not teaching the downside of it. They're living it, they're seeing it, but we need to educate and work with the younger populace so when they get older and they're making those decisions, they have some better knowledge.
How do you feel about people's right to open carry for self-defense?
Yeah, I think that I'm a staunch Second Amendment supporter. I believe in it wholeheartedly, and I think that people should be able to open carry. I think that concealed weapons permits should be handed out to anybody that could legally possess a firearm. I'm all for it.
Where do you stand in regards to water rights?
Water rights. So I stand with the side of the law. So I'm not going to take the farmer side. I'm not going to take the tribe side and come out and say, this is who I'm supporting. I'm going to stand with whatever the law says, because that's my job as a law enforcement, to apply the law, not my personal feelings. And so I'm going to stand with the side of the law.
You've kind of gone over this a little bit, but are there any more details you can give on your plan for the homeless and drug issue in Klamath County? Yeah,
so the homeless, I assigned our liaison for the homeless. I worked with the county commissioners writing the policies for the county on the homeless, and implemented that program. And along with a sergeant that I assigned as the homeless liaison, there's laws that govern what you can do for homeless people. There has to be a liaison present when you serve paperwork to ask them to leave. You have to post it. They have to have 72 hours notice, and that liaison has to be present when you remove them. And if they don't go willingly, you can take them to jail. But now you got to seize all of their personal property, right? So I set up a area at the sheriff's office that we store that property. That if that person gets released from custody because they refuse to remove themselves, and we had to go that route, they could come to the office, and any deputy could give that to them and not have to wait Monday through Friday when our evidence tech is there. So that process is in place. We have a homeless problem, and a homeless problem creates crime. So we need to know who's living where, and and that part of it is we're driving by these folks because we're going call to call. We don't have the time to stop and really get to know people and do community police work. So the community service officers is going to help with that. It's a wide-reaching thing. It's not just misdemeanor crimes that they're going to handle. The deputies now get to handle, who's that living in that corner in that tent on the sidewalk that is impeding pedestrian traffic? So we need to go out and talk to them, and or on private property. And so the community service officer program is wide-reaching. It's not just misdemeanor non-person crimes, which will help with the deputies being able to handle more homeless folks.
One issue that I'd like to cover is wildfires.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the worst fire season by number of acres burned in state history, more than 1.9 million. There have been several fires either in or very close to Klamath County, including the one near Chiloquin that destroyed 8 homes recently. How would you ensure that the department continues to be well prepared, not only to respond to these fires as they happen, but to be a resource for residents who are adversely affected?
Yeah. So a little history on me. I'm a wildland fire investigator. I'm a type 2 investigator. And for years, about 15 years, I was a search and rescue manager or coordinator, and I conducted the evacuations for these fires. So I have a knowledge of that. And a lot of it is education. And it's educating not just the people that live in these rural areas, but it's working with the Fire Defense Board and talking about, protected space and how to do that. So when you're out there as a rural deputy, you can talk to these folks and say, hey, you guys got a lot of brush coming right up to your house that is going to be really hard for us to evacuate you or the fire department to defend if a fire comes in. So, that's a 5-minute conversation, and it's just spreading the word. The search and rescue folks, those numbers are dwindling for evacuation stuff that, when you don't have the bodies to go out and do those evacuations, you can't get everybody out. And at some point we're going to have a fatality. So we're knock on wood, we haven't. But if our numbers keep dropping, we're not going to have the bodies to go out and do that.
Those are all of our questions. You get the final word. Is there anything else you want to tell voters before they fill out their ballots?
Well, I think that, you have to have a plan. What am I getting? If I buy with my vote Brian Bryson, what am I getting? You're getting somebody with a plan. You're getting somebody that has supervised and managed both sides, has worked in every aspect of the sheriff's office. I'm dual certified in patrol and corrections. I'm a search and rescue manager, the search and rescue coordinator. I was a vice chair of Corsar for like 7 or 8 years. And I have a plan. My plan is community service officers. My plan is to get us to 24-hour patrols. And then, and resident deputies, and then we can start talking about, hey, here's the numbers that we're light on, and here's the data to support that. Not just come out and tell you, hey, we need more money. I can tell you that we're short deputies, but I don't know how many, and I haven't heard from anybody in the last 3 sheriffs that have said that, how many. They just tell you that they need more. So I have a plan. So vote for a plan. Vote for somebody that has a track record of doing the right thing when things get hard, and standing up and taking taking our deputies to a level that we have never seen. We need to go up there. They need to be engaged. They need to have say in the office, and they need to have fun at work. And, we're not having fun. So vote for a plan, and that's me.